Welcome to Final Take Pointers. I'm Curtis Rowan, and joining me tonight are Ben Zatuni and Nathan Hansen. Ben, we'll start with you. Any big plans for the Valentine's weekend?
Yeah, probably go to dinner somewhere and just relax, spend the weekend relaxing.
Yeah, I have a few tricks up my sleeve, so it should be a good day.
I have a few events planned, and we'll go from there. But tonight we discuss the latest in sports. We'll get back to that right away here. Pointers Athletics. Along with college basketball, the NBA All-Star Game, and the Super Bowl, which I do not even want to talk about. We begin tonight, though, with the Pointers men's basketball. The Pointers hosted Whitewater and River Falls last week, where they were defeated both times. The Pointers lost to Warhawks 72-51 on Wednesday night before falling to the Falcons 81-79 in overtime on Saturday. Stephen Pelkhofer scored a career-high 30 points in the loss to the Falcons. Ethan Bublitz also had a career high with 21 points and 8 rebounds, while Sean McGann chipped in 17. The trio of Pelkhofer, Bublitz, and McGann were responsible for 68 of the 79 points. That is no error, folks. Are we about to see the defending national champs miss the NCAA tournament? Ben, we're starting with you.
I think there's a good possibility that we might. They struggled a lot in some parts of the game on Saturday. I know SPTV broadcasted the game, and from what I saw, they seemed to be getting into foul trouble too much, and at times they seemed to be forcing shots, not making that extra pass, looking for another opportunity. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to make the tournament.
No, I think they'll make the tournament just fine. These next 4 games they have are very winnable in lacrosse and Eau Claire and a few other teams mixed in there. They're all conference games. So they just went through the meat of their conference schedule right there in Whitewater and River Falls. Both teams were tough. They had that game against River Falls. I called it with Chris. It was a great one. Went right down the wire, overtime. I mean, Stephen Pelkhofer was there all day. He had 30. I mean, that trio had 68 points. I mean, they're not going to lose many games if a trio scores 68 points. So I think it was kind of a fluke loss for them, and they should be able to turn it around right away.
I don't know about the tournament. I'm not going to go and predict that, but I'll tell you what, this team is so young and they got a lot going for their future. And I remember us talking, you might have been on there as well, when we talked about who's going to be their solid 3 going into this season. We mentioned that early on in the season, and I think they found that there with McGann, Bublitz, and Pelkhofer. And maybe these games coming up here, they can grow on that and build off of this going into next season. The Pointers return to the court Wednesday when they travel to play Stout before hosting Eau Claire on Saturday for Senior Day. Can they pick up a pair of wins, Ben?
I think they can, and I think they should. Like Nate said, they're playing kind of the lower teams of the conference, so there's no reason why they shouldn't pick up 2 wins this week.
No doubt they pick up these wins, and these are must wins, so that's why I think especially that they're going to win these. I know Coach Semling's going to have those guys ready.
Let's move on to the women's basketball team. The 17th ranked basketball team split a pair of games against Whitewater and River Falls last week. They defeated the Warhawks 72-64 behind a career-high 28 points from Lauren Enklum. On Saturday, the Pointers lost to the Falcons 77-67. The Pointers led by as many as 12 points in the third quarter and led by 5 entering the fourth, but were unable to hold on. Taylor Douglas scored a career-high 21 points when Enklum added 11. With an upcoming schedule of games against the bottom 4 teams in the conference, can the Pointers win out to end the regular season? Nate, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think they can. I think they really need to find out who their top scorer is, their main scorer, who they're going to look to. I mean, a few weeks ago we did a game, and Allie Maselli was there in the first half, shut down the second half. And then we talked about Lauren Enklum having a big night for herself with 28, and then the next night Taylor Douglas is the one with the leading scorer. So I really think they need to find a consistency from a scoring standpoint from one person.
Yeah, I agree with Nate said. I think to be able to have late season success, you need to find someone who can score consistently, and I also think that they need to find someone who could make a presence down low. A couple weeks ago when you guys did that game against Oshkosh, the Pointers really didn't have somebody down low under the boards to get those rebounds.
Yeah, and Allie Maselli was the big target there for them. But I think this team has a lot of good pieces. I think they just need to put it all together, and they can make some runs here. I mean, they played Oshkosh. They were ranked pretty high. They played them tight most of that game. Ended up losing that one by 2, I think it was. So this team has a lot of potential right now. It's exciting to see, especially after that rough season last year.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this year, nobody expected them to be as good as they are this year. And I mean, they've knocked off 6 top 25 teams, so I think the next 4 games should be pretty easy for them.
Well, the Pointers host Stout on Wednesday in the Play for K Pink game against Cancer and travel to Eau Claire on Saturday afternoon. Going on to the ice rink, the men's hockey team picked up 3 wins last week by defeating Stout 7-0, previously top-ranked Adrian 6-4, and Superior 9-1. Are the Pointers playing their best hockey right now?
Absolutely. Just look at those games: 7-0, 6-4, and 9-1. All those goals, and then the week before where they played Lake Forest twice, they beat them 3-1, and then they beat them 9-2. It's a high-scoring offense. They're getting results on defense, and Max Milosik's having a great season. His first season starting in goal, so they're playing great right now.
Yeah, you talk about Max Milosik between the pipes is key for them. That's the position they were looking for stability coming into this year with Jager graduating, and they've really found their stroll on offense. I mean, there's no one guy that's really carrying this team. It's a complete team effort. I mean, we've seen guys the past couple weeks score their first career goals and have their first career assists. So there's guys that are coming from basically the woodwork and the bottom of the bench that are coming in playing terrific, and this is very good for the Pointers considering the time that it is. I mean, it's not. I think the more important part is the timing of how they're playing. They could be playing. They were playing great in the middle part of the season, but that's not as big of a deal. Now that they're playing better at the end of part of the season, that's great. Looking forward into the tournament play.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I was going to jump to. Right, they started off a little slow in the year, lost to some teams they shouldn't have. They finally got someone behind the net that they trusted, and that's proving it right now. And this team is just rolling behind that goalie, and it's exciting to see for this team.
Yeah, I think one thing, kind of going off what Nate says, that'll benefit the Pointers come tournament time is that they have different people scoring. I was looking at their stats the other day, and there's at least 3-4 players with 13 goals, and then a couple with 9, 8, 7. So no matter who's on the ice, they're always getting scoring.
Well, the Pointers head back to the ice this weekend with 2 home games to wrap up conference play in the regular season against Stout and Eau Claire. What can we expect in these games? Nate, we'll start with you.
I mean, these are kind of bottom feeders of the conference when it comes to hockey too. So I think they should keep rolling and might even see another 9-goal game for the Pointers.
They're bottom teams of the conference. They just beat Superior, 9-1 last week, and so probably beat Superior 14-2 this week. And Eau Claire the other game? Good for 6 goals there.
I wouldn't sleep on some of these teams because some of these teams sometimes just find a way to sneak out of the woodwork and come off with a upset. You never know.
Yeah, but these games are at home, and Nate and I were at the game on, Friday. That atmosphere at the ice rink is great. They really feed off the fans, especially the student section.
No doubt.
Well, it's good to hear. We'll move on to the women's hockey team. They picked up yet another 1-goal win when they defeated Eau Claire 1-0, thanks to a third-period goal by Shauna Bollinger. The Pointers will travel to Superior this weekend for a series with the Yellow Jackets with second place in the WIAC on the line. Do the Pointers wrap up second place this weekend, Ben?
It's going to be tough, but I think they do. They've had a lot of 1-goal victories this season, but same with men. They've had different players contributing to the scoring. So yeah, I think they do.
I don't know. This is a really tough team that they're playing, and they've kind of had their trouble against them in the years previously. And I think if it's a 1-goal game, I think they got it. But I think if it's going to be too close, I don't know. I think there's a chance they lose this one, but it might be better if they lose this one looking forward.
Also over the weekend, the women's track and field team took first place at the Pointers Invite, and the men took second. What is the potential for this team this spring?
Well, I think that they have a couple seniors on both the men's and women's team that went to nationals last year, or a couple underclassmen that went to nationals this year that are junior and seniors this year. So they'll be the leaders of the team, and they always do well in the conference meets. So I don't know. Probably you can expect the same thing.
Yeah, we don't talk about track and field a whole lot on this show, but they definitely deserve their praise, especially this year. They've got a lot of guys and girls that have produced from the track and field standpoint. So they're looking pretty good going forward. I think there's definitely more room to talk about them in the future.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we discuss Wisconsin Badgers basketball, more college hoops, and the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Interested in TV and like to talk about sports? Then Final Take is the thing for you. Final Take films every Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the CAC Room 121. Come and join the fun. At Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SBTV News crew. Being an on and off air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SBTV News, pointing to you.
Welcome back. The Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team won its 5th consecutive game by defeating Ohio State 79-68 on Thursday. Nigel Hayes led the Badgers with 21 points and 7 rebounds, with Vito Brown and Ethan Happ each tallying 12 points and 5 boards. What has been the key to the Badgers' success so far with this streak?
I think they're finally getting used to playing under Coach Gard. I mean, they went into the season expecting to play under Bo Ryan. He left at the end of the semester, and you kind of didn't really know how the team was going to do under Gard, whether he would change the system or kind of play the same way Bo Ryan did. But they're getting comfortable with the way Gard wants them to play, and you're seeing contributions from everybody up and down the bench.
I think there's one word that really describes how this winning streak, and it's chemistry for sure. These guys are finally playing with each other. There's a lot of guys that were kind of playing big minutes now that didn't at the beginning of the year. There were guys that were playing some bigger minutes in the beginning of the year that aren't playing as big of minutes right now. And they're kind of just realizing who is going to play where, who's going to play what, who's going to be where, when. And it's really working for them. And those guys are really paying off, and Nigel Hayes has stepped up his play for sure.
Well, the Badgers host Nebraska on Wednesday before traveling to Maryland on Saturday to take on the second-ranked Terrapins. How can the Badgers pull off the upset against the Terps?
I don't know. It's going to be – Maryland's always a tough place to play, but I think if the Badgers play smart, limit the number of turnovers they have, and hit those free throws and play well as a team, I don't see why they can't upset
it's
upset
not
Maryland.
easy to play at Maryland for sure. I mean, that fan section is really great over there. And Mark Turgeon's got those guys playing well. And I know a guy from Maryland who's going to have a heck of a game against the Badgers. I know he's going to go out there with some fire, Diamond Stone, who was recruited by the Badgers, almost committed to UW, but ended up going to Maryland. And I know there's going to be a lot of Badgers that are trying to take down Melo Trimble. I know he's been having a great year. And I think the key to it is Maryland has a lot of other guys that play big roles. I mean, you got Carter, Rashid Suleiman. There's a bunch of guys that play bigger roles for the Terrapins than what the Badgers have playing for them. So I think Bronson Koenig is going to have to play up huge if they want to win, but I don't think it'll happen.
Let's just jump a little bit ahead of your prediction. How far do you think this Badger team can go in the tournament if they even make it?
I think they'll definitely make it. They'll finish, 5th in the Big Ten. That still earns them a tournament spot. I don't know. Maybe make it to the Sweet 16 at the most. I wouldn't expect anything past that.
I think they'll upset a team in the first round and then make a second-round exit.
Do you really think it's been on losing their coach Bo, or do you just think this team is just inexperienced?
You said it before. They're getting over Bo Ryan retiring, but I think they lost a lot of talent from last year. Sam Decker, Kaminsky, Josh Gosser, Douye Dukin coming off the bench. They just lost a lot, and they're kind of in that rebuilding mode, getting in some of the freshman players like Ethan Happ, getting them accustomed to Badger basketball.
Well, around the rest of the country, Villanova claimed the top ranking this week for the first time in school history and the 6th team this season to grab the top spot. How long before we have team number 7?
A week, 2 weeks, I don't know. I mean, it seems, what was it, just last week? I don't even know who was number 1, Kansas or something? Oklahoma was number 1, but I don't know. It doesn't really, teams are able to get to the top, but once they're there, it seems like they're primed for the upset.
Yeah, it definitely won't be this week for Villanova because they have St. John's and DePaul, and those are real bottom feeders.
Calling out this Johnny's over here, huh?
Yeah, so I think give them about 2 or 3 weeks, and then they'll go down to somebody.
Well, after a triple overtime thriller earlier in the season, the Kansas Jayhawks and Oklahoma Sooners meet this weekend in a rematch. Who comes out on top? We'll start with you, Nate.
I'm going to go with Kansas again. I mean, Oklahoma barely pulled it out against Texas, I think, a few nights ago with a buzzer beater 3 by Buddy Hield. And I think Kansas, you saw in the first game, they basically shut down everybody else but Buddy Hield in that game. So I think they'll do the same, and I think that's the team that's going to get the next number 1 spot. Yeah,
I'm going to have to agree with Nate. They've been playing well all season, and I think Bill Self will have them playing good enough defense where they can limit what Buddy Hield does. So Kansas with the win.
Well, let's move to the basketball court. The NBA regular season will take a break this weekend for its annual All-Star festivities in Toronto. There will be the Celebrity All-Star Game, Rising Stars Challenge, All-Stars Saturday night featuring the Skills Challenge, Shooting Stars, Three-Point Contest, and the Dunk Contest, followed by the All-Star Game on Sunday. Which event, Ben, are you most looking forward to?
It's probably a tie between the Celebrity Game, I think, at Friday night, and between the dunk and the three-point contest on Saturday night. The game on Sunday is really a blowout. They don't play defense, so not worth watching.
Yeah, I think the most important part is going to be the worst. And I think that's for sure going to be the Rising Stars Challenge. I mean, they changed the format up. It used to be like the sophomore team versus the rookie team. They changed it into a U.S. team versus the world. And that roster's not very good for either team, I think. I think the dunk contest is going to be lame. I think last year it wasn't even very good, but that last year will be better. I mean, this year we got defending champ Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, and Andre Drummond.
Do we got any picks for that dunk contest at all?
Zach
LaVine, just because he's the returner, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to the three-point contest. Chris Middleton's
a lot of good shooters in there.
Chris Middleton's in there, so maybe he can provide a bright spot for the Bucks in their disappointing season.
One you'll probably want to watch, though, is the Skills Challenge. You got Patrick Beverly, the returning champ, DeMarcus Cousins, Draymond Green, Anthony Davis, C.J. McCollum, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Isaiah Thomas. So it's a bit of a mix between some bigger players, and that's going to be fun to watch. I mean, you got a lot of dribbling stuff, got a lot of passing stuff.
I'll take none of them because I can't stand watching the NBA All-Star Weekend. The only All-Star week or game I like watching is MLB because it matters. But we'll be right back. We will be talking the NFL and the Super Bowl recap, so stay tuned.
Like to talk about sports? Join Final Take every Tuesday at 4 p.m. At Final Take, anything pointers, anything sports.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, we're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Like to talk about sports? Join Final Take every Tuesday at 4 p.m. At Final Take, anything pointers, anything sports.
Stevens Point, welcome back. It's now time to talk about Super Bowl 50. We begin with the commercials, gentlemen. I guess, what was your favorite commercial? What was one you were kind of like, why did you even waste the money?
Oh man, I think it started. The commercials I didn't understand was that first one by Michelob Ultra, where everybody's like, just sighing after they were working out. That Puppy Monkey Baby was dumb, total waste of money.
That was a good one.
No, that was terrible. I think my two favorite commercials were the Doritos one with the parents at the ultrasound, seeing the ultrasound, and
that was a
the
great
Kevin
one.
Hart one where he's the dad sending his daughter out on the first date.
Hyundai, I believe it was.
Yeah, with the GPS tracker on the car. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I think the Puppy Monkey Baby took the cake, but one that I thought was kind of dumb, I think it was Bud Light, where they had a Seth Rogen and Amy Schumer.
The election kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a total waste of money because nobody remembers it anyway because it was too long.
Of course I'm going to say this. I thought the Budweiser one where the lady basically called out drunk drivers, I thought that was great. They made a big statement, Budweiser there, and that was a little shot at Donovan McNabb, Vince Young. The list could go on and on with NFL stars on that one. I thought that was really good. Puppy Monkey, whatever.
Puppy Monkey Baby, yeah, right.
But I guess my question to you is, you even know who had that commercial?
Mountain Dew.
All right. Some people can't even say that. They just don't know what happened.
And I had the drink they were talking about yesterday.
Of course you did.
Yep.
That clearly impacted you. Let's talk about the halftime show real quick. Maybe Lady Gaga. I thought Lady Gaga was
I think
amazing.
She did a good job she did a good job singing the national anthem.
Yeah, I know you were tearing on her that she was going to be the one singing the
Yeah,
national
she
anthem
did better
before the
than
game.
I thought she was
Yeah.
going to be.
But let's get to the game. Well, I don't even want to talk about it, but we'll just start with it. The Denver Broncos defeated the Carolina Panthers 24-10 to claim their third Lombardi Trophy. The Broncos are the first team to win a Super Bowl with fewer than 200 yards of total offense. Von Miller was named the MVP with 6 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Ben, we'll start with you. How were the Broncos able to pull off this victory?
I think that they were able to they started off the defensive pressure early and often on Cam. What was it? Not even 10 minutes into the game, they got that strip sack touchdown that kind of knocked the Panthers down a few notches. That kind of got them out of the game, and they were able to keep up the pressure. Special teams played well. They hit all their field goals, correct? And then when they punted, they were able to. The special teamers were able to get down there and not let Ted Ginn do too much. And what was it? Jordan Norwood with that long punt return, and then the receivers and running backs stepped up too. C.J. Anderson had 100 yards, and Emmanuel Sanders had 6 catches for 85 yards. That helped against Panthers defense.
Well, before you jump in, I'm not going to get very further because I'll wait for your answer, but the offense didn't step up. Go ahead.
Well, I'm wearing darker colors today because it's a rest in peace to the dab. The Broncos really shut that down, and I'm happy they did. And they did it with one way, defense. They got to Cam all day. Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware. The coverage was great. Aqib Talib bailed out the Panthers a few times early in the game. But after that, they really shut them down. Chris Harris. They had guys out there, Darian Stewart, TJ Ward. Those guys were everywhere the whole game. And they shut them down completely.
I'll tell you what, as crazy as this sounds, I wasn't a big fan of the Denver Broncos secondary. I didn't think they played as well. I thought that defensive line was the MVP of this game.
Yeah,
hands
defensive
down.
line, linebackers.
I thought the secondary struggled at points. It was just Carolina dropping the ball a lot. You had Cottree on the sideline that was about 2 to 3 yards away from the end zone. He had dropped a key pass there. You had Ted Ginn across the middle dropping a key pass. A bunch of guys dropping a key pass.
You had drop
You had a
passes
lucky
and
catch by
overthrows.
You had a lucky catch by Philly Brown that
But
TJ Ward should have intercepted as well.
I let you guys talk, let me talk about what happened in this game. But I tell you what, that defensive line literally took over that game and dominated the Carolina Panthers offense. And it's proven that defense wins championships. I don't care if you're the number 1 offense, number 2 offense. It's proven that defense is going to show up and beat you. And that's what happened that game. I remember I got asked a question earlier, and I'm going to call out Jen, even though she's not here, and she asked me, do I still think Peyton Manning's washed up? Of course I do. The guy didn't do a thing. You could have went out there. I could have went out there. Everyone on who's running technical staff could have went out there and won the Super Bowl. The defense single-handedly beat the Panthers in this game. They didn't need an offense. So when you say guys stepped on offense, no, they didn't. They played terrible. They were under 200 yards, and they won the game because the defense just dominated the field. Cam Newton was under stress. Guy was running like this game reminded me of the Brett Favre versus New Orleans Saints in the NFC Championship. Brett Favre got no help on offense. He was running around trying to do everything on his own. That was exactly what Cam Newton was doing. He's trying to run around on his own, getting sacked all the time. When he was throwing passes on target, guys were dropping it. You're not going to win a football game doing that.
I think that the two tackles for Carolina, was it Michael Orr and Remmers? They struggled a lot.
They did,
Michael Orr.
Shula didn't even give them. He didn't in the second half. And Denver mentioned this. They didn't really change up anything. They never gave them help in the second half, and I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, Greg Olsen, big part of their offense. He didn't really do
I'm not sure
anything.
if he had more than 2 catches.
Yeah, I didn't see him at all. When they were able to, how many times? I don't think they got to the red zone that often, but when they were down in the red zone.
They got to the red zone twice where they didn't score, and 2 of them, I think, were turnovers. So
they just really didn't produce, and they didn't make the necessary adjustments at halftime.
I think one thing that they've really, everyone's kind of overlooked is Carolina's inability to run the ball. I mean, throughout the year, they ran the ball well. They didn't run the ball great. They didn't run the ball poorly in any game. They ran the ball well and good enough to get the job done, and they kind of abandoned it, I think, a little bit too early, because I'm not sure why you're still trying to throw the ball when you got guys throwing it in your face every 3 seconds. Granted, Jonathan Stewart was banged up early on in the game, but he did come back, and he looked like he was all right. So I thought they could have done a little more with the running game to give a little help and take some pressure off Cam.
The problem, though, with the running game, and I understand why they kept throwing, is if you watch some of those runs, they were getting stuffed in the backfield every single time they ran the ball, and it wasn't doing anything. It was just stopping them, and it was a waste of down. What I thought they didn't do enough was the read option. I thought they needed to run that more, that type of style of running, to get Cam more involved in the running game, because Cam Newton was basically their offense. No one else. No one else showed up in that game, really, for them. The wide receivers, Kotri, who's been somewhat reliable for the season, catching balls, dropped 2 or 3. Ted Ginn, I don't think dropped. He maybe had 1 drop. But some of these guys that needed to play good and perfect, they didn't. And it showed. And we could keep going on and on. I could talk about this game all day. But let's move on to the end of the game. We'll start with you, Ben. What was your reaction to Cam Newton abruptly leaving his post-game press conference early?
I wasn't surprised. It kind of goes, the way he left the press conference after the game on Sunday reminded me how he was his first couple years in the league. How he, after those regular season post-game press conferences, he would just kind of stand up there and be like, "Yeah, this happened," and kind of throwing out a little bit of an attitude, and just went and left.
I was very disappointed. I mean, this was his chance to prove to everybody why people didn't like him, because he danced too much, he had too much fun, or whatever that is, because he was black, which I obviously don't think is a factor. I think
it is definitely a factor. You're insane if you don't think it's a factor.
When you come up to the podium and you leave after 2 minutes and you're dressed with a hoodie over your head and you're looking down the whole time, you're not answering any questions, you're giving forward answers to your question, is that professional? Is that how you want people to look at you? That's how you want to be looked at?
What would the people at ESPN do if Tom Brady, after they lost, what was it?
Bill Belichick never gives answers. Never. Is it ever talked about? Is it ever talked about?
He's a coach.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't.
No, because he treats everybody else with respect. Cam, during the game, what was it? In the end zone, he got pushed down. When he was out of the pocket, he got pushed down, turned to the ref. He's like, "Oh!"
And Tom Brady doesn't do that? Come on, Ben.
No. And then,
you're talking foolish. Now let me explain what my thoughts are in this press conference. Cam Newton is not here to prove what he needs to prove to the media, and that's where you're wrong. He ain't here to prove what he's going to be. Cam Newton. He's going to be a sore loser after the game, and if you don't like it, he doesn't care, and that's how it's going to be. It doesn't matter. He came out today. He came out today in his interview, after interview, and he looked at all the commentary and everyone complaining about it, and all these Romanowski coming out, who was an idiot and looks like a moron on Twitter. Came out and Cam Newton says, "I'm going to be who I want to be. If people are calling me a sore loser, then I'm a sore loser." He said, "You name me one loser that takes losing good, then that's what I call a loser right there."
Nobody
and it
takes,
was a great
nobody
quote.
takes.
I don't care what he did. I really don't. It's Cam Newton. I'm used to it. He's going to get bashed no matter what he does. He's going to get bashed. I'm going to point out something to you. A couple of years ago, when Peyton Manning lost to the Saints, he didn't shake one player's hand after the game. He walked out of the stadium, and that was never mentioned.
Give me a minute.
Not once.
That's completely
Guess what?
different.
He's white, folks.
That's completely
Come on,
different.
are you okay?
That's completely different. I don't
Cam
care.
Newton's sitting
I don't
up
care
there
if Cam
with
Newton
this
doesn't
hood.
shake
He's
anybody's
like,
hand after
"Yeah,
the game.
well, we
matter.
drop passes."
Well, what would you do? What would you do here? Ben, what was your reaction to the game? What happened? Are you disappointed?
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I lost the Super Bowl.
Why
but
are you
I'd
asking
sit
the
there,
question?
I'd answer the questions. I'd
Me
give
is
the reporters.
ridiculous.
No, I'd give the reporters the respect, because you want the respect from the reporters.
They don't give him the respect. They never given him the
because
respect.
he treated them like crap from day one.
He has never got respect in this league, and he never will. It doesn't matter what he does.
He came into the league.
It doesn't matter what he does.
Post-game press conferences.
He is never going to get the respect he deserves in this league, no matter what he does. If he would have acted normal, they would have complained about him not diving for the fumble. I mean, it can go on and on. This guy will be criticized until he leaves the league, and it doesn't matter.
When you pull antics like that, you deserve.
He has no problem dancing and dabbing all he wants in the end zone. But
Absolutely not. But we are going to end the show here. It's been a heated debate. This is what we've wanted probably all season long, and I'm going to stand by my decision just like Cam Newton stood behind his. That's all we have time for today. We thank Ben and Nate for giving their insightful opinions, even though I don't agree with their junk. And a big thanks to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television, or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointers athletic information. Just remember, fellow Pointers, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.